sort of get things started, my name is Andrew Abad. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the MSU Honors College. We have, I think, probably one of the best panels we've ever constructed. This is an all-star team of current students that's pretty diverse in terms of both geographic and majors, and we want to make sure that we can answer all the questions that our students have. So we're very excited to have all of our 5 current students here on the call this afternoon. Eric is the big sort of screen on mine. I don't know how that happened, but it seems fitting. So we'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself first and go from there. And hopefully we'll have everybody do a quick introduction, and then we'll take some questions.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Locker. I am from Owasso, Michigan. I just finished up my 5th year at MSU, so I finally graduated. Music education major. What else am I missing? And my favorite thing to do on campus is go to the hockey games.
Who are we gonna have go next?
I mean, I could go next if you'd like me to. Yeah, okay. So, hi everyone. My name's Mackin, like mac and cheese. And I'm from Lake Arrowhead, California. So, a couple thousand miles away from East Lansing right now, but it's all right. It's beautiful up here. And I'm a rising sophomore, and I'm a member of the Honors College. I'm majoring in political science with a pre-law emphasis with a minor in law, justice, and public policy. Maybe economics too, depending on whether I like my class next year. And some of the things I'm involved with on campus, I'm the vice president of MSU's Rotaract Club, which is an organization that works with the local, if you know Rotary, what Rotary International is, the local Rotary chapters in the area. We work with them to do fundraising and community service throughout Greater Lansing. And then I'm also involved in HSTAR, which is Honor Students Actively Recruiting, which is what everyone else on the panel is involved in. Sure, we'll talk more about that later. Then I'm also a member of the Refugee Outreach Committee, and I'm a member of MSU's Social Science Scholars Program, which has helped me conduct research into the sectarian conflict of Northern Ireland. And it's also preparing me for a study abroad trip I get to take next year to the UK. And if any of you have any questions about that or study abroad, I studied abroad last summer before I came to MSU on a 2-week trip to the Republic of Ireland.
Can you hear me? Okay. First off, Eric, congratulations on graduating. Really sad that my friend is leaving. But my name is Jasmine. I guess now I'll be a senior in a week. And I'm a political science major, minors in African American and African studies, and educational studies. On campus, I am the co-president of the Council of Students with Disabilities. So that's where I spend most of my time. I also do adaptive sports. I'm on the ballroom dance team. I do a lot of stuff with research. So if anyone has any questions, I actually went on the study abroad that Mackin is going on next year. Sorry you couldn't go this summer, buddy. But I'm also a social science scholar. So if anybody has any questions about that or research or study abroad, like, please do ask.
All right. Hi, I'm Allie. I'm from Bowling Green, Ohio. I'm also a rising sophomore like Mackin. I'm a neuroscience major with minors in computational math, science, and engineering, as well as pharmacology and toxicology. I have a professorial assistantship in the Pharm and Tox department, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me. Apart from that, I'm involved in both the Traveling Competitive Collegiate Model United Nations team and the High School Model United Nations planning group. And I also am involved in Catholic Spartans, which is like a student youth group on campus, and chamber orchestra.
Hi everyone, my name is Eli Falk. I have finished up my 4th year at MSU, so I'm also a 2020 graduate here. I was in Lyman Briggs College, where I got my degree in microbiology with minors in economics and bioethics. Some of my favorite experiences at MSU have been being an undergraduate teaching assistant for chemistry in Lyman Briggs College. My study abroad trip to Paris, France was a highlight for sure. Being in the volunteer in the adaptive sports program with Jasmine. I also really loved living on an honors floor for my first 2 years at Michigan State. So if any of you have questions or are interested in that, I'd be happy to talk more about that too.
Awesome. Thanks to all of you for introducing yourself, and congrats again to Eli and to Eric for graduating. That's so kind of a weird time, right? Like we almost don't think about it as much during all of this, but I know that it's still very exciting. And I can see that Dr. German is also on our call, our assistant dean here in the Honors College. I think she just answered Ben's question. You know, I know that this is a very interesting topic for everybody right now, and it's really an interesting time as we look at what's happening globally. I know that we did do that room and board refund, as Dr. German mentioned. One of the things I will say about this whole process is that we've been really good at communicating with prospective students and families, both the Office of Admissions and the Honors College. We continue to do that. And I know that for many of you, you're trying to make a decision, or maybe you've already made a decision, but as we go forward within the next month or a couple months, and as we know more about what the fall semester looks like and what things will go in terms of how we do instruction on campus, we'll make sure to communicate those details to you. There's not so much that we know right now. I can tell you that the president of MSU will be doing a web chat tomorrow night, I believe. So we'll make sure that we include that information before the end of today to make sure that you have it if you want to ask questions to the person who's making these decisions and at least managing our university's direction during that. But this is a great chance to ask any questions about a variety of the things that our students have talked about. We mentioned a little bit about study abroad and research and honors housing. I can see that Simon has the first question talking about the benefits of living on an honors floor. So I think that's a great place to start. We actually have 3 of these housing questions here. So maybe I'll sort of package them together and we can sort of talk about housing as one big thing. Ben asks, how does housing selection work? So maybe we can touch on that a little bit. And then Rachel said, can I room on an honors floor with someone who's not in the honors college? So let me go ahead and throw it to the panel to talk a little bit about housing, and then hopefully we'll get all these questions answered.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start talking about the honors floor. I know Eli mentioned that he lived on an honors floor. I do as well. I lived on last year and this year as well. I'm going to be living on the Phillips honors floor, which has been an absolutely wonderful experience. Some of the benefits are that it's in a community of really engaged people that have a lot of diverse interests that you get to be around all the time. And one thing that I've found is that on my floor in particular, people are going to each other's rooms, hanging out with each other, watching sports or movies. It's really an open door policy because people want to be able to meet with each other because they want to have conversations and they want to talk about current events. They want to talk about other nerdy stuff that honors college students like to talk about. And another benefit is that you don't necessarily have to be on the honors college or you don't have to be in the honors college to live on an honors floor. So if you have someone that you have in mind that you want a room with, I believe it's possible that you could pull them in. Andrew, you can fact check me on that if I'm wrong. But I know my roommate next year that I'm going to be living with, he's not in the honors college, but he's still able to be on that floor. So it'll be nice to bring him in because he could also be engaged with that good community of people without necessarily having to be in the honors college. And what else?
So just to clarify, we do offer in most years, and we're hoping this year to offer honors floors that have honors, non-honors pairs. We have to wait to see what our availability looks like before we do that. But when you sign up for room selection, that's going to take place in May for our incoming students. You'll be able to clearly see which halls are honors, non-honors. And typically what that'll look like is we'll have a date just after their honors date where you can sign up and pull a non-honor student in. So we're hopeful that we'll have that sort of main period where if you want to live with an honors student, you can sign up for an honors floor first. And then once we take a look at what's available, you can pull in a non-honors roommate. But if any of our students want to jump in and talk a little bit about sort of their experience with, you know, honors room selection or housing selection, or your experiences living on campus, that might be helpful.
Okay, so I lived on the honors floor for the last 3 years. My freshman year, I lived on the honors floor in McDonald, and my sophomore and junior year, I lived on the honors floor in Snyder. I know someone said they wanted to live there. And I'm a political science major. That's no problem. Not being in ARCA and staying on the honors floor, you can still do that. And I would say a lot of people on my floor weren't in ARCA. A lot of people like the Snyder Phillips honors floor because if you have any classes in like that middle part of campus, it's one of the best honors floors I feel like you can pick. As far as my experiences, I really liked my honors floor. Honors floors do not automatically coordinate with quiet floors. There are quiet floors, but my honors floor, especially my freshman year, was not quiet at all. We had a dodgeball team, I am dodgeball team that we all played together. We would come together and watch The Bachelor. And we were one of the loudest floors in the building, honestly. But when I moved to Snyder, that floor, it was a lot more like reserved and quiet, but still I was able, like some of the people I met on my floor, I ended up joining the ballroom team with them, and we're really close friends still. So I think that each floor itself has like a different culture, but honors floors are really fun to live on in general. On top of that, I also would like to throw out there that as an honor student, you don't have to stay on the honors floor. You can, if you don't want to, you don't have to, and you'll have like a great housing experience too. But they are an option, and I like living on honors floor.
Yeah, so I will add that going in my freshman year, I was really apprehensive about being on an honors floor because I was like, I don't want to be with all these nerdy kids. Like, I'm the cool, smart kid, right? But after like living there and like seeing how it was like by no means was I like sitting there with, you know, like we don't all just like sit at our desks and study all the time in the honors college. Crazy, I know. And so it was really cool because like Jasmine said, it's each floor that I've lived on has had a different personality, but I really enjoyed my time on the honors floor my first 2 years. Just because even though people are so different, you always have that common denominator of being able to talk about honors college and like people, you know, because the honors college is so small. So there's like mutual friends that you'll have.
And just as a quick note to get a little technical on how room selection works, when you fill out your honors college response form, we ask you about housing. You may have said no at the time. It's not binding, so don't worry about that. But we will send a list of students who have accepted their honors college invitation to housing. They'll reach out to you after you've signed the housing contract. There's a certain window of dates, I believe it's May 11th through 13th, where our incoming honors students can select housing on an honors floor. And we should offer, I believe it's 10 in total, different halls and floors within them in terms of options. So we'll have 2 floors in Holmes Hall, which is where Lyman Briggs is housed. We'll have an honors floor in Snyder, which is where ARC is housed. We'll have an honors floor in Case, which is where James Madison College is housed. And then we'll also have honors floors in places like McDonald, which is where the residential business community is, or you know, within the engineering complex, we'll have a few, hopefully. So there will all be options to you. And again, you know, we'll have honor students who want to room with other honor students first, and then hopefully a couple days later, the ability for you to pull in a non-honors roommate if space is available. And that won't be in every hall, but will be in a few. So if there is a way to be a part of the core program without living in Wilson, yes, there is. So the core program is housed in Wilson, but if you want to live with engineers, you can live in Wonders or one of the other. But I think with the core program especially, it's housed in Wilson, but you may be able to live elsewhere on campus that's around the engineering complex. So just to note. Simon asks, is it possible to have a double major and a minor? This is a great honors question. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to probably Eric, but some of our other students as well.
So I had a double minor and a major, so not as overachieving as you would be. But one of our good friends, Joe, has, I believe it's a double major, triple minor, um, which Jasmine can weigh in on that if I'm incorrect in that. But yeah, so you can do as many majors and as many minors as you would like. It's just how many years are you going to be at MSU, and how stressful do you want your schedules to be? I would suggest to you just finding the things that you like, and you might have a double major that makes sense. And in which case, I say go for it. I have minors in economics and educational studies, so those don't really necessarily go with music education the best, but it's what I enjoyed, so I did it.
I also have a major and 2 minors. I don't, if someone has a double major and a minor, please speak over me because I'm less relevant here. But I think that is 100% possible, especially depending on the majors. If you're fine with staying a little longer, then you can do it, whatever. But if you want to graduate in 4 years, depending on the majors, a lot of things can count for both. So my major is political science and my minor is African American studies, which doesn't always correlate, but like as far as like African politics and minority politics, they counted for both. So you might, like, I would say talk to your advisor about how many classes you can take to double count them, and you might be able to finish within a 5-year period, but you can definitely do 2 majors and a minor.
One thing I was just going to add off of what both Eric and Jasmine were saying, I definitely agree that it is possible to do that for sure, and depending on the different considerations you're going to think about with what those majors and minors would be and how many credits you're going to take on and how many years you're looking at spending at MSU. One other thing that I would also add on top of that is, especially with the flexibility that the Honors College gives you, is there's a lot of opportunities to take classes you might be interested in, even without necessarily getting a minor or a major, if that's not something that you necessarily want to do. So like, for example, I didn't end up like minoring or majoring in psychology, but I was still interested in, taking some psychology courses while I was at Michigan State. And so because the Honors College allows me to skip over some prerequisites and also to use psychology courses as substitutions for some of the general university requirements, I was able to take some upper level, more specific psychology classes that I was really interested in taking, which was really, really interesting and beneficial, even though I didn't end up minoring or majoring in that field. So just another thing that you can think about if you're looking at exploring some different educational interests you might have.
Awesome. So our next question talks about the PA. So for those of you who are in the PA program or have had experience there, when should I expect the PA form? And when is it due by typically? And is the PS form or PA form impacted in any way if I decide to change my major? Good questions.
Okay, so I know at least last year the PA form came out in like mid to late May, and then it was due kind of by the end of May. And then it took until we got on campus to get an email saying who we had matched with for our faculty and for their research. And so I don't think it would be really impacted in any way if you wanted to change your major, because it takes such a long time and you put your research interests on that form no matter, it pretty much doesn't matter your major. Like, I'm a neuroscience major, but I'm doing very loosely neuroscience related research because I like more of the pharmacology and toxicology side of things. And also, if you decide that you want to go somewhere else, if you want to like stick with what you thought you wanted for your first year, you can always switch for the second year of your PA. So it's very flexible in that way.
I just want to say I like all this information Allie gave. It's all right, except that this year we will likely delay the form a little bit. So just as a few week change probably from last year. But we will send an email about the procedure to all PA offered students in May. so that you get that information. And then that will have a due date for the form. Will likely be due in June sometime this year.
And just a quick note, I know that Ann asked about the four-year graduation rate, and Dr. German said it's about 80%. Our average time to graduation is just under 4 years for our honors college students. So in terms of the averages, most of our students will graduate on time in 4 years. There are, of course, some students who will stay, and I think the flexibility that we award our students plays a role in that, in terms of determining, students who double major or do research or study abroad. But just some more background information there. The next question, does the priority scheduling only apply after the first year, or does it apply to first year students too? Good question.
So it'll be after your first year. Unfortunately, we all already scheduled our classes like a month ago. So I hope you all picked the earlier orientation dates. But after your first year, though, you will be able to schedule your classes like the first week of March, and all the other students schedule their classes like the third week of March. So you do have a little bit extra time after your freshman year. Mackin, this was your first year doing it. Was it better?
Yeah, it was. And I'd say that, yeah, having the advantage of scheduling your classes a couple years early is really nice. And especially for honors college students, it doesn't really impact you too much having the 1 year delay, because a lot of you are probably coming in with like AP or IB or some kind of other transfer credit. So a lot of your gen eds that you're going to have to be getting into if you're a freshman, you're not going to have to do anyway. So it still will work itself out and you'll still be on track academically. And having that advantage later on really does help, because especially if you're in a heavily impacted minor, like if you're in the business college or if you're in like a STEM major, then it could be really hard to get in some of those classes. But with the honors college, it's really easy to. You have a huge leg up.
I'll add, I used to work with what is now the new student orientation. Even though you don't have the priority scheduling right now, even to the end of the summer, we never really have issues getting kids into the classes that make sense in their schedule, that keep them on track for graduation, if not ahead of the pace that they want to be. I wouldn't worry too much about that little like, oh, we don't get priority scheduling our first year. It'll all work itself out. There's so many classes that you need to take, regardless of how many AP or IB credits you have, that you will be fine and you will have a nice full schedule regardless.
And I do want to just add a quick plug for the honors research seminars. These are classes that we offer within the honors college, typically among the smallest courses, 5 to 15 students working with faculty on research. These classes are only for first and second year students. So these are not for some of those seniors who have already registered for classes. So we're hopeful that if you want to take honors courses, you certainly can in that first year, but the honors research seminar might be a great opportunity for you. So I would definitely look forward to doing that. And that's a good segue into Valerie's question, new student orientation. How is that going to run this year? Will it be a large Zoom meeting? I hope not. It is going to be virtual this summer. The way that I envision it happening, and Dr. German can certainly chime in here if she has something to add, but I think it's really going to be kind of a one-on-one or maybe a small group. You're going to go from place to place. So you'll have a chance to meet with advisors, both within the honors college and within your department. You'll have to sort of work with somebody to go through what registration will look like, but I don't think it'll be a really big Zoom thing. I think it'll be more individualized and personalized, but it will be virtual this summer.
But what will be big group is that there is a class that you'll be taking, and think like it should be a pleasurable class, not a painful class, but the thought is that there will be maybe multiple things you'll want to do over the summer besides just that one-on-one meeting with your advisor. And so you'll be able to do that content of the new student orientation at your pace and over the summer. So some things will be on the date of your orientation and some things will be available to you at any time. And my understanding is you'll get a message about new student orientation right after May 1, and then you'll also get access to all the tutorials for how to use the various enrollment systems around the middle of May. So you'll be getting some information soon about how it works, and hopefully they'll also share information about the course, which is really just a transition course to MSU. All
right, so this is a great question for our panel. and I'm just going to scroll up here to grab it. So how does the prerequisite opt-out work, and how can an incoming student take advantage of this as a freshman?
So I assume that you're talking about trying to get into an upper level class or without the prerequisite. You just have to email your advisor, I would say. Usually on campus you can make an appointment, but at this point, I would probably just email your advisor and let them know, because you'll need to be they have to give you an override to get into the class.
Yeah, I will.
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, I will add that depending on the class, you not only need advisor approval for the prerequisite waiver, but also departmental approval, depending on how high the class is and what it is. The first year, some advisors, a good portion of our advisors, are a little like cautious about enrolling you in some of those really high upper level courses, especially your first semester. We like to see like how you handle that transition before you go and be like 400 level courses. Let's go. Although I will say that there are some kids and students that are just like outstandingly amazing in one subject, and you will be able to convince your advisor, if that is you, that you should be able to take chemistry 600 or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say a similar thing to what Eric was saying, in that there might be a little bit of a variation depending on like the course that you're looking to skipping over. So like, for example, for Calculus 4, you probably might want to have like your first few years of calculus still. But for like the social psychology class that I was taking, one other thing that I would do is I would sometimes check with the professor as well, just to see, how do you feel about like the, content in your class? And if I don't come in with the intro psych content, will I be able to be up to speed? And so, for a course like that, the professor said, yeah, that's totally fine. And it wasn't a problem. So there's a lot of flexibility that it gives you. And so as long as you're kind of like taking those steps to check ahead of time to make sure that it'll be a smooth transition, it can work out really well.
Can I also add something really fast? I know that there's like a pressure to take higher level classes just because you can, but I just want to make sure that when you're opting out of the prereqs, you actually don't need them. Like Eli was saying, do not take Calc 4 if you've never taken Calc 4 in your life. Even if you can convince your advisor to let you do it, it'll be a horrible experience. I'm taking next semester I'm taking a class about education and disability, and one of the prereqs is a class about that basically gives you like the basics about different types of disabilities that people can have. The reason I opted out of that prereq was because I work with people with different disabilities all the time, and I thought that I don't really need it. But if I knew nothing about disability whatsoever and just got dropped in this class, that would be horrible. So just make sure you actually don't need the prereqs.
And there are some cases where we won't let students do that, right? So I think the Calc 3 example is apt, right? We're not going to throw you in Calc 3 if you haven't had Calc 2. There are some restrictions to this rule, and you'll be able to sort of recognize that pretty quickly as you go through. I know a lot of our panel has gone abroad already or plans to go abroad, so this is a very easy question, I would say, for them. Does financial aid cover study abroads?
Yes, it does. Unless Jasmine, were you gonna answer first?
Yeah, I mean, not only will you have to apply if you're going in the summer, you would just apply for summer aid, just like you would at any other point. And then there's a ton of scholarships, especially if it's your first time abroad. A ton of scholarships to help you study abroad. When I went, I ended up having the whole trip paid, and I had money left over. So I ended up spending my weekends in Paris and Venice. I went to Paris and Venice with my friends, and I was like, yeah, I'll pay for everyone's dinner, because I just had a lot of money left over that I was supposed to spend on the study abroad, and I spent it. It's gone. So there's a ton of scholarships. So if you're willing to do the work and write the essays and do all of the things, I think that you all would be 100% able to pay in full your study abroad.
And in addition to that, as being a member of the Honors College, you automatically get the Presidential Study Abroad Award, which I believe is $3,000, unless that's changed. And when I went on my trip to Ireland last summer, I ended up using that, and that really helped mitigate some of the costs. And for a semester,
So Mackin,
yes.
just to clarify, that scholarship's just for out-of-state students?
Oh,
And
is okay.
it helps with the out-of-state tuition costs when you
I
go
was gonna say because I did not receive
on a semester when you don't have other
Okay,
scholarships.
my mistake. I didn't know that was an out-of-state only scholarship. And best for study. Sorry, I gotta clear my mind. For opportunities that are semester long, are you able to use scholarships at MSU to fund that, or are you not allowed to? I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can.
Okay, great.
And this could be a good plug for our Honors College scholarship application. So I know that some of you have already received merit aid coming in as freshmen, but if you haven't, or maybe if you're looking for more money, study abroad as well as undergraduate research are both excellent opportunities to apply for additional aid. And it's not just an Honors College thing. There are different departments across campus, but we do have a scholarship application that you can fill out typically in the spring every year. And we have a shockingly low amount of students who actually take us up on it and fill out that money. So it's worth it to give it a shot. I think it's a great opportunity. We have a lot of different funds that we award every year to support students in doing things, again, like education abroad or undergraduate research. So the next question, this goes back to orientation. Do I have to tell my advisor that I'm in the Honors College during new student orientation, or do they know beforehand? Also, how does being in Honors College affect course scheduling with the advisor? Okay, let's see. Not what I meant with prereq. I was trying to get into really high, but if I want to skip bio. So talking about prerequisites with like bio 101 versus 202. That's a good question.
I've never taken a biology class in my life, so if someone else.
Yeah, so with going back to like the whole Honors College, will they know thing with orientation, the great part about the advisors here at MSU is they all talk to each other. So at least last year when it was in person, you went and met with your honors advisor first. They were able to drop a lot of the just general classes that they kind of schedule everyone in because they want to make sure they have enough room for everyone who's probably going to have to take that. And then they kind of talk with you about your plan for how you're going to fulfill all of your honors options, if you want to do any honors experiences, and kind of get a base plan for your 4 years. And then after that, you go and meet with your major advisor, and they're able to see all of the notes in the advising system that your Honors College advisor left. So absolutely, they do know that you're in the Honors College. And with the prereq opt-out, I don't know. I mean, I know certainly a lot of people come in being with AP credit, being able to take care of those basic biology courses, but for a lot of degree programs, if you don't come in with that credit, you still need to take that class and get those credits to earn your degree.
One thing maybe that I can add on that from my experience with biology, and this was a unique opportunity from the Honors College, was my first year I took the honors section of introductory biology. So, and I think as someone that was pretty interested in being like a biology major, that really gave a really nice foundation in those biology skills that were important for a lot of my upper level science classes. And an advantage to that course as well was even though I had AP credit that I brought in and I chose to take it, I could still keep that AP credit with the honors biology course. And so that was an option for those students that were taking the class but had already had credit coming in. So that might be something that you would look into as well if you're really interested in kind of getting a deeper, more challenging biology experience.
And just a quick note, Verily asked the question, how will the fact that IB scores come out in July impact registration? Obviously, we know many students will bring in scores, whether they be AB or AP or IB scores or even dual enrollment grades. We'll ask what you're taking typically, and they'll try not to register you in those classes, or if they have to drop those classes at a later date, depending on your score, that's fine too. I think a good general rule to know is that when you register for classes during orientation, that is in no way a final thing, right? This is very much changes you need to. I remember when I was a freshman, I changed almost my whole schedule the day before classes started, which can happen. So it's one of those things where, you know, we'll see what you have coming in and what you're planning on taking and plan from there. But until the scores actually come in, you may need to make adjustments later, and that's okay too. Catherine is asking, does the Honors College provide additional study abroad opportunities outside of those associated with your major? That's a great question.
Did anybody do Euro Scholars? This would be a great plug for that.
I want to do Euro Scholars. I think I'm going to try to do it my junior year.
Okay, Allie.
Can you describe what it is, Allie?
Yeah, so basically it's a unique study abroad experience. The Honors College has partnerships with, I don't know how many, maybe Bess can help out, but they have a lot of different universities in Europe that they're partnered with. Each have specific research focuses, and you can apply and go and research there for a semester. And they have a variety of different countries and cities all around Europe that you can choose. And it's great because you can take both research methods, you can get a little bit of culture and language, and also get research and study abroad experience all at the same time.
There's also a lot of programs that are offered in each individual college that you could do that don't necessarily have to do with your major, but can have to do with related disciplines within your own college. Those are for semester and also summer and winter programs, but I know there are a number of summer and winter programs that you just go for a month or 2 weeks or the entire summer that you can do a couple of ISB or ISS classes, which are your general education requirements. And you could do honor sections on those, and those are going to help you knock out your university requirements. So those are outside of your major.
And just as a general rule, when you look at Michigan State, we have 275 different study abroad programs. We're, I think, in the top 10 nationally, and our honor students will go abroad at a rate higher than the general university population. So there are so many different opportunities. I would not limit anyone on this campus who's an honor student in trying to find a different study abroad opportunity. Pretty much any place you want to go to or university. We have, as the student said, great agreements with other places where you can come and study. And I know that Euro Scholars program is specific to the Honors College, but most of our programs are open to anybody. And a lot of our aid will go towards any abroad program that you choose. And some students will even do internships abroad. I think that's an important thing to note as well, is that you can go and work abroad if you're interested in that sort of thing as well. I don't see any additional questions yet, but we're hoping to get some. I know we still have a little bit of time left. I guess now might be a good time just to ask the panel, what's your favorite thing about the Honors College? If you can just talk a little bit about your experience as an honors student. These are all incoming students who maybe haven't lived it yet, so just talking about what you've enjoyed personally and a little bit about your experience may be helpful.
I can start. Something that I really like about the Honors College, it's when we talk about MSU, a lot of what people worry about is like, oh, it's a massive campus, like physically and like demographically, population-wise, like it's a lot of people. Like I'm a tiny fish in a big pond. And what I really liked about the Honors College is how close not only the students are with each other, but the students and staff and faculty are like between each other. I have what I would consider friends with many of the faculty and staff at the Honors College, and I will talk to them about things unrelated to our like academic like job requirements. And I just think it's really cool that they have a vested interest in seeing their students succeed and sort of have those connections. And it's just feels very much like, at the risk of sounding cliche, very familial and family-like. So that's my favorite thing.
My favorite thing about the Honors College is the fact that the students come from like such a diverse group of majors. So like when you have your friends that you see in all of your classes, they kind of might create like a bit of a bubble for you if all of your friends are if you're a poli-sci major and all of your friends are poli-sci majors, or all your friends are psychology majors and things like that, it can get a little like echoey. But with the honors college, at least you get to make friends that are outside of your major and still like very like academically involved. And the friends that I've made in the honors college, I see in so many different spaces on campus. Like one of the first friends I made in the honors college when I did Impact, I don't know if anyone's doing that, but when I did Impact, I became friends with Kelly Walker. She's the other like co-president of the Council of Students with Disabilities with me. Me and Eric worked on during ADS together, and he's a music education major. There's no way I would have met him any other way on campus. It just would have not happened. And then Eli does adaptive sports, which is sports for people with physical disabilities. So we volunteered there together, and it's just so cool that honor students are basically involved in everything on campus, and you will always have like that one thing in common with them. I don't like competing with honor students. I've done like a lot of the NIFs. Like I just started my Rhodes application, and it's the worst to have to go against them. But they are like a very, very diverse group of students, and it's really cool to like be friends with like an engineering major and a biology major and so many Briggs people, but also like other like social science people and business people and music people. There's no other college on campus like that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and piggyback off that. Don't mind Jasmine complaining about the NIF scholarships, the national and international fellowships and scholarships. She's been doing that all year because
I've
she just did the German
two.
fellowship too.
I've lost 2, so I can complain if I want.
But anyway, I'd say this kind of goes off of Eric's point, but as big of a campus as MSU is, it's pretty easy in the honors college to be able to make it more communal and more family-like. Because the way that I've been made to see it, it's easier to make a large university smaller in terms of the resources and your inner circle and the connections that you make than it is to make a small university big. Because MSU is a tier 1 research institution, so pretty much anything you might want to study, anything you might want to research or be connected with, MSU either directly offers it or will find you the right connections to be able to get you what you want to study. And in addition to that, just with the community of the honors college, it's really nice to be able to have friends that are not just like able to have a good time, but are also able to be academically stimulated and always looking to answer the big questions about the world. Because for me, being the nerd I am, I like having those debates and trying to answer those questions of like how the world works and why do people engage in conflict and other things like that. And especially on my honors floor, where you have people that have so many different diverse points of view and have an academic stake in the debates that we're having, it's really cool to hear their different sides because that helps you grow. Because seeing other points of view is what ultimately is going to help you learn the most.
Yeah, and kind of going off what Mac and Eric have been saying, it just feels so much like a close-knit community. Like, I remember Mackin and I did one of the ADS dinners this year, and we were just kind of talking in the lobby beforehand, and we were like, oh, we both know this person. And it's because I think honors college students pursue so much outside of their major. Like, for instance, I'm a neuroscience major, but I'm really heavily involved in Model United Nations. And basically everyone has sort of something outside of their major, other academic interests. And so you can always have really interesting conversations, and you also form a really close-knit group because you pretty much by the end of your freshman year, at least I feel like, you know everyone in the honors college either directly or through a connection with someone else you know in the honors college. So that helps it really feel just like one big family.
And I would just finally add on to that community that you have like outside the classroom that also like can really translate into the classroom too. And so when you're in classes, sometimes maybe with some groups of students that are larger than classes you might have had in high school, knowing and finding the group of like, okay, I remember seeing, you know, some of those honor students at the fall welcome, or, you know, I had another class and we were in a study group together. So it really does make things smaller inside of the classroom as well, and also the honors sections and honors courses that you can take that are smaller class sizes than the regular option enables you to make those close connections with other students and the professors that teach the courses as well.
All right, so we have one more question here. It looks like about a language course. So is it required to take a language course at MSU without declaring a minor? Does it fill another requirement if you do take a language course?
I think unless you're in ARCA, if you're in ARCA, then I think you have to take a language course. But other than that, no, you don't have to take a language course, and it depends on what your minor is. So I've taken Swahili for the last 2 years, and I am an African Studies minor, so it does fulfill some of the requirements there. But it really do. It depends on what your minor is. But you don't have to minor in a language to take the language. Like if you want to learn a language, then go for it. A lot of there's only 7 people in my Swahili class, and a lot of them are like engineering majors, and none of them it counts for nothing for them. So if you want to learn a language, just go for it.
Yeah, and remember, if you want a sense of where you would be placed in terms of what class you would need to take for a language, you can always take that language placement exam, and that's not necessarily binding in the results that you get, but it'll help you give an idea of like where you're at, and if you wanted to pursue language at MSU, where you would best fit in terms of where you are with your understanding of the language. And just to add on to Jasmine's point, I'm pretty sure it's a college requirement in the College of Arts and Letters to have 2 years of proficiency in a language, but I could be wrong on that, but that's, yeah, Bess is agreeing. That's what I've heard.
All right, do we have any additional questions? I know we have about 10 minutes left. We certainly want to be able to answer questions that you have. I have another question in my back pocket if we need it, but I do want to check in. I see that there are a number of students here joining us this afternoon. We're so thankful again for you taking the time, as well as our current students taking the time out of their busy days to chat with us. But I guess to sort of throw another question to the group here, ultimately, you know, we're coming up on May 1, which is our college decision day. If you think back to your time as a high school senior, what was it that made you choose MSU?
For me, as I look back, I think it does go back to what some of the other panelists have been talking about in terms of having this big university, but having all of these opportunities, including the Honors College, that can help make it smaller. And so having that kind of best of both worlds, with all the resources that a big institution like Michigan State has, but also these opportunities that really help facilitate you building that community within that large place. And so all of those things, and that's something that you probably hear about quite a bit at a lot of these types of events. But I think the reason that you hear it is because it really is true, and has been so true in my experience that, you know, things like the Honors College really do help to make that big university smaller. And so you do kind of get that best of both worlds. And that was a really large reason why I decided to go to Michigan State. And I'm really glad I did.
So I don't know if there's anyone here who's still undecided. I would have been. Actually, yesterday is the 3-year anniversary of me choosing to come to MSU. So I decided the week of May 1st, right before the application where you had to confirm. And I think that it ultimately came down to the fact that I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to have a internship. I wanted to do research. I wanted to have good grades. Like I had like very high hopes for what my college experience will look like. And there was really only one school that was offering me all of those things. And like as a package deal altogether through the honors college, through the through the social science college program, it just seemed to me that it was the easiest way for me to do everything that I wanted to do. And now that I'm a, a senior, I still have 2 more finals, so I don't feel right. Now that I'm like a senior or whatever, and I've done a lot of the things that I planned on doing, I honestly think it was the best choice I've ever made. I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't woken up on April the 28th and been like, never mind, parents. It's been 6 months and I've been saying I'm going somewhere else, but I've changed the line. I'm going to Michigan State, because this has honestly been the best decision. Michigan State has a beautiful campus that I miss so much, and the people here are so nice and amazing, and I'm really glad that I made that decision, even though they didn't really factor in before I made the decision, but they're good now.
I can put my 2 cents in. One of the things that I harp on a lot with prospective students is making sure that you pick a university that you feel want to versus a university that you feel would be okay with having you. So that looks different for every person. But with me personally, MSU really felt like there was people on staff and students that wanted me to go there, reached out to me. It made me feel like I was a person and more than just a number. And all universities can make you feel that way in different ways, but MSU was the one that made me feel like they wanted me personally and that they wouldn't just be happy to have my money. So just make sure that when you're deciding, if you are still undecided, as like Jasmine, I was as well, that you know that you make that decision for yourself, that you're like, these people want me personally, because I think that's where you're going to find the most enjoyment out of your college experience.
Okay, so I didn't take quite as long to make my decision, but as an out-of-state student, I knew that if I was going to go out of state, it needed to be affordable, worth my time, and I knew I was really interested in research. So having gotten and received my PA was really, for me, a big deciding factor in coming here. I knew I wanted to do research, and being told from the get-go that I was not only going to be able to do research guaranteed my freshman year, but be able to do it in an area that I was interested in and getting paid for was really, really nice. And also just coming here, I came here in like November and it was cold and the whole Arctic cyclone thing was going on. But then I came back for ADS weekend and I just remember feeling like everyone here really wanted me. And there were so many people from so many diverse backgrounds wanting to study so many different things that I could truly pursue all of my passions in one place. And so that's why ultimately I ended up choosing MSU.
Wait, so Allie, which ADS weekend did you go to? I forget.
I went to the second one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I went to the first one. So that's really how I found out about MSU. And it was the week before the polar vortex hit. So it was still like a little chilly, but not like bone-shakingly frostbite as soon as you get outside chilly. And being a boy from California, I was a little shocked at first coming to that, but I'll go back a little bit. So I was applying to colleges in November, just as I'm sure a lot of you guys were. And I was looking for like one more safety school, like one more school that I knew I was going to get into, right? So I like was looking at my Common App, and then I was watching ESPN at the time. And it just so happened that there was like a spot on about Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans. Like they just happened to be talking about it. I was like, Magic Johnson went there and I like the Lakers. Tom Izzo, yeah, I could apply there. So then I did. And I didn't really take MSU seriously at first, but then I found out about ADS weekend. And I was already planning a trip out east to see schools anyway. So it worked out with the dates and I was able to come. And the one thing I realized at MSU is just like how great the community is first, how beautiful the campus is, and just how great of a fit it was for me. So the analogy that I like to use when describing my college search process is that it's almost like you're shopping for like different sweaters, right? Because we all love nice warm sweaters, especially when it's cold out, as it was at ADS. And you can almost think of like each different college as like being its own sweater with like, you have the logo on the front, like some logos are cool, some logos are dumb, and you're able to recognize that at face value. But when you're looking at the sweater, you want to look for just more than how it looks. You also want to look for like what it's made out of, the substance. You want to look at how it feels. You want to picture yourself wearing it, and you want to make sure that you try it on, because you don't want to go into a sweater shop, buy a nice sweater, and realize that doesn't fit right. So when I was looking at these different schools like back east, I didn't want to be in California, by the way. When I was looking at schools back east, I was checking out these sweaters, and I found that they were made really, really nicely. And they had a lot of like face value. Like people knew that these sweaters were good. But then I would try it on, and I just found that the sweaters didn't fit right. It was just something that it's trial and error, and you have to try each sweater on before you can know whether you actually want to buy it. And I came to MSU, and that ADS weekend when I came, that was my time to be able to like look at the sweater. And I tried it on, and I realized that MSU was the best fit for me. Not just because of the social science scholars program, which has opened so many doors for me in terms of faculty networking and research and study abroad, but also just because it's the one school where I went to where people cared about me. And there were some schools where like I'd shake hands with the professor at the event, and he'd like have like a superficial 30-second conversation with me. But I remember at ADS one night, I was talking with Jasmine actually, and a couple of the older people in her cohort and the social science scholars. And we were there for like an hour and a half having like an actual conversation about politics, about life, about the earth, about like my interests and their interests. And that to me just showed that the Spartan community is unique and it's not like any other. And I couldn't be happier with the choice.
My favorite part about MSU is being able to take credit for students coming. I would like to change my previous answer. Whenever Mackin tells the story and he finally brings me up, I'm like, yes. This is what I live for. This is like, I only have one more year left, and as many students as I can recruit, it's just great.
You better suck it up while you can, Jasmine.
Thank you. You made my day, Mackin.
So that's probably a good plug for H-Star, huh? So if you are feeling very similar to Jasmine and want to take part starting next fall, and hopefully through your time at MSU, if you decide to join us, there is an honor student organization. There's many honor student organizations, but H-Star is one of them, where our current students will help us in recruiting the next classes of honors college students. So just as a small plug for that. I do want to just give one more minute if anybody has any outstanding questions to drop them in the box. But before I do that, I'll just say thank you again to everybody who took some time this afternoon. Thank you again to all of our current students. Congratulations again to Eric and Eli on your graduations. That's very, very exciting. We're very happy to hopefully celebrate with you in just a few weeks. On that, again, please keep in touch with us, prospective students, invited students. If you have any questions, if you need anything, last minute, I know we're coming right up on May 1. If you have not yet accepted your honors college invitation, let me say, please do it now. Even if you have an extension with admissions to take until June 1, still accept your honors invitation now. We do need to have that on file by May 1st, regardless of your deposit status with MSU. So it's non-binding, but please do that if you have not already. Other than that, again, thank you. I don't see any more questions. So best of luck to all of you. We hope to see all of you on campus in just a few months.
Good luck with your decision, everybody.
Yeah, it's hard, but you guys got this.
And Allie and Mackin, good luck on finals if you have any more left.
Thanks. Yes. Mine are done, luckily, but
I can't wait to wake up at 4 a.m. for my final on Friday. It's gonna be great because it's gonna be long.
Yeah, I have 2 more left, so.
Okay. Well, good luck to you too, Jasmine.